New question. Member from Nipissing.
Thank you, Speaker. My question is for the Premier. Last week was the 2-year anniversary of you becoming Premier, but it was also 2 years ago last week that the gas plant files were deleted. The OPP has since recovered thousands of gas plant emails deleted by Liberal staffers. Many of those staffers testified in the Justice Committee hearings and, like you, took an oath to solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And those staffers responded to the many Freedom of Information requests on the gas plant scandal. With the knowledge and confidence that all their files were deleted, they boldly swore, quote, "I have no responsive emails." Premier, will you launch an investigation into which of your staffers lied under oath?
We're going to start tiptoeing around it. I'm going to make a ruling. Withdraw, please.
Withdraw.
Premier.
Mr. Speaker, and I know that the Government House Leader is going to want to speak to the process, but I will just say that the member opposite knows that hundreds of thousands of documents went before the committee, Mr. Speaker. There were dozens of witnesses, Mr. Speaker, who spoke to the issues. We opened up the process. I said 2 years ago, when I came into office, in this office, I said we were going to open up the process and we were going to make sure that the committee was able to ask the questions that they needed to ask and bring the witnesses on any issue that they deemed to be relevant. And that happened, Mr. Speaker. I'm encouraged that the report has been written. I understand that it will be released shortly, Mr. Speaker. That's a good thing. I think that it was very important that the committee was allowed to do its work, and it was allowed to do its work, Mr. Speaker, because we opened up the process.
Thank you. Supplementary.
Again to the Premier. One Freedom of Information request asks 9 senior staff for all their files related to the gas plant scandal from January 1 to October 1, 2012. 5 Liberal staffers wrote back, quote, "I have no records." But the OPP then recovered emails from Laura Miller and others relating to the gas plants within that time period. Laura also told the Justice Committee under oath she had no documents. Premier, when people file a Freedom of Information request, when MPPs ask questions in committee, they need to know the answers are truthful. Laura Miller, now Executive Director of the BC Liberals, hasn't spoken to the OPP. When are you going to show some moral leadership, call Premier Christy Clark, and demand she send Laura Miller back to Ontario to cooperate with the OPP?
Government House Leader.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Let me first of all start by welcoming the new member of Provincial Parliament from Sudbury to this House. Look forward to working with him. Speaker, as the member opposite noted himself, there is an active OPP investigation going on in the matter. I think we should let the Ontario Provincial Police do its work when it comes to any allegations there may be. What we know, Speaker, that this Premier, when she became the leader of this government, immediately opened up the process, ensured that hundreds of thousands of new documents were submitted to the committee. Speaker, the committee, Justice Committee, as you know, has been looking into the matter for the last 3 years. They've heard from about 93 witnesses, and they've had ample information to consider in order to ensure that they can provide guidance to the government when it comes to major issues that the committee was looking. Thank you.
Stop the clock. Final supplementary.
Premier, let's go back to that Freedom of Information request where 5 Liberal staffers wrote back, quote, "I have no records." According to an affidavit, in her role as Special Assistant to the Premier, Becky Codd-Downey was to, quote, "identify individuals who may have responsive records." In December, the OPP recovered gas plant emails seized on computers from the Premier's office. Much to our shock and surprise, here's an email from the very same Becky Codd-Downey. It reads, "Talk to Dave, we'll delete my emails." Talk about the fox running the hen house. She was in charge of identifying the very individuals who may have gas plant emails, but didn't put herself on the list. Premier, why is Becky Codd-Downey employed in your government today?
Speaker, as I mentioned earlier in my previous response, this Premier and this government has opened up government significantly. We, Speaker, have implemented significant record-keeping reforms, such as mandatory staff training. In addition, Speaker, we have passed a very broad accountability Act which implements key recommendations from the Privacy Commissioner, such as ensuring the preservation of records, prohibiting the willful destruction of records with the intent to deny a right to access to records, and introducing a new offense with a fine of up to $5,000 for the willful destruction of records.
The member from Simcoe North, please withdraw.
I withdraw.
Again, I withdraw. Is that okay?
Let's try it without the editorial.
I withdraw.
Finish, please. Wrap up.
Thank you very much, Speaker. These are very important changes that this government has undertaken. The former Information and Privacy Commissioner Ann Kuvakian has credited our government for improving record keeping across government.
Thank you.
Thank you.
New question. The Leader of the Third Party.